Welcome everybody to the Unlocked Life podcast. I hit record because I just had a feeling that we were going to get straight into it. And we have Lily is somebody that I came across her profile not very long ago, but really resonated with whatever way you live your life that we're going to find out more about, but totally unlocked. So different to what at least I'm doing and people in my community are doing, and such a flavor of what I know people yearn for. Lily, the question I asked you was just this feeling, and I think so many people are really waking up to that of being sensitive to like what feels aligned in their life, be it company, people, work, relationships, whatever it might be. What used to feel okay to now what just doesn't feel like they can put on the mask anymore. And you had said something a few days ago. I'll let you explain it yourself or what you had said, but what you had said in your story was really just more clarity around what is for you and what's not for you anymore. So take it away, Lily, and welcome.
Hi, yeah, thanks. This is so cool. I feel like I've been describing it lately as this separation of my body and my spirit. Like my spirit is in this good spot, like my spirit knows what's up. And my spirit's just dragging my body. And my body's like, wait, no, let's do all of the things that we know and that we're used to and that we've always done. Like it's okay to have some drinks with some friends or maybe not go to the gym or maybe eat that thing that you shouldn't eat. And my body's just like, so my body's like playing catch up, it feels like, where it's like, okay, I really don't want to do these things. Like, why am I doing them? And I feel like d as of recently, I've really accepted my gifts and my callings, or like I'm beginning to accept those things, which historically I've just and subconsciously maybe even like I've just like molded to be likable or chill, where it's like, all right, like not that big of a deal. Let me like fit in, let me, be likable and not high strung or have my standards way up here so I'm hard to
Hmm.
relate to?
Yeah.
And now it's just getting to this point where like there's no option and like I have to just be hard to relate to. Like, and in
I
doing
love
that,
that. I have to be
like,
hard to relate to. Sorry.
yeah, like because now it's like at this cost of myself and my sanity, and I'm like, so what's that about? I'm not going to do that forever, so I might as well change that now. And in doing that, find my people and also call those around me higher. Like, I can't expect to help people find freedom or create their unlocked life, right, without like doing it myself and leading by that example. Because we just have this misconception that structure is like a prison or a cage, but structure gives you freedom, and having discipline allows you to actually be free and rip those chains off of your heart.
Wow. Straight in, I'm just like, okay, I want to know more about what has come before this. For anybody listening, being like, who is this girl? Who is Lily? What's her story? Where is she? Why is she in her car? So, like, give us a little rundown because I've given them absolutely no pre-information here on this interview.
Oh, it's so good. That's what I was like. I was thinking about where to take the podcast, and I was like, well, definitely in the car. Like,
You meant
like
like
there's,
the story of the podcast. You mean literally where am I going to do the podcast?
yeah,
I think I'm like,
I was
where am
like,
I going to take the podcast?
I was like,
I know.
I could not think about that at all because I was like, I'm just gonna show up and like, I don't know
That's my
what's about to
job.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
no,
needs to
I
share.
think it's perfect. It's part of the story. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been actually like the more I travel and stuff, like it's really just a common question that I should probably have the answer to by now with
Mhm.
how much it's asked. But like every time it's like, what made you want to travel? Or like, what was the deciding? And I was just like, I don't even know. I remember being like 7 years old and being like, I want to take a piss in every single ocean. Like, for
Ah,
what? I don't know. I don't know. I was just like, that's cool. I was like,
and here you are.
the world is just smaller than we think.
Mm.
I don't know, it's just there's so much out there, and I'm from a small town in Upper Michigan where some people just never leave. And I think that's common.
Mm.
I think that's more common than we think. Like we're all kind of like accustomed to our small towns and we're like, oh, I grew up in this small town and like I can't wait to leave, you know. There's some people that just never want to leave their hometowns, but it's common. It's super common. Like the more that I travel, the more that I realize that this country specifically is just made up of small towns. And that's probably the whole world. Like we're just a bunch of small town people. Some people never want to leave, you know. Some people can see the beauty in that from a young age and that's cool, but that wasn't me. I think that I was just raised in and around a lot of complacency, and I just didn't want that for myself.
Yeah.
And the car thing, really, I'm just not trying to pay rent and like do cool stuff while not, while saving money.
But
Yeah.
yeah, to explain to people like what does life look like for you now? Like lifestyle, you're traveling all around the United States then in your car.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm
So I'm
so
in,
curious. I watched your story. I'm like, how often does she stop? Does she travel every day? And give us like the behind the scenes, please.
yeah, this is just so cool. So, so yeah, I was like 18 and I had only been past Chicago once. And I was like, this is so crazy. Like, I literally went to Florida one time and I was like, okay, I need to get out of the Midwest. There's so much out there. I graduated college. Before I even graduated college, I drove out to this job in Colorado. This is the beginning of my travel. I had $300 to my name, drove out to Colorado in a car that should not have made it there, randomly graduated college online, like in the middle of Nebraska on the way. Got to this wedding venue, and my plan was to save up money. It was pretty good pay. Lodging was free, straight to the savings account. And they fired me a week in. I was on the top of this mountain. I had no service, no Wi-Fi, no friends, no family, and a car that shouldn't have made it there with not a lot of money. I just sold everything. I literally packed my entire life into my Chevy Impala. I had everything in my life fit into this car. That was a really pivotal point in my life. I was like, okay, I can either go back to Michigan,
Hmm.
just look for a job.
Small town.
Yeah, go back to that small town and figure it out, or go anywhere else. So I was like, that sounds a lot cooler. This was in 2022.
Okay, 3 years.
Yeah, yeah. So I was in a entrepreneurship program at the time. I was meeting some really cool people, and I kind of in one of the group calls explained my situation, and then a couple of the girls were like, "Come on through, like come down. I got you. I've been there before." Like, just trying to help me out. And I was building really good relationships with these people. Two of them are still some of my best friends till this day, and I'm so grateful for them. And just started applying for every job like known to man, waitressing, bartending, cleaning for old people. Like I was trying to do Instacart and everything.
Mhm.
I was also really trying to launch my health coaching business. So my friend helped me. She was like, "Yeah, come down to California, come stay with me for a little bit. I'll help you launch your business." So she helped me launch my business. I had a few clients and I was actually like, granted, I had a pretty low overhead, but I was making do. I was, charging my worth. I was successful with everything and paying for everything and also traveling and staying with my friends that I just met on the internet. And so then I ended up getting side jobs and stuff, just making money. So yeah, and then I ended up doing that for like 6 months and then I had to go back home. There was a tragedy in the family, so I had to go back home and that was the whole thing. And then New Year's came and I was in my small town and it was like 6 weeks of winter, maybe even more than that. And it was New Year's Eve. And I think this is where, like, when we're talking about kind of knowing or like just putting yourself first and not sacrificing your own thing for people around you. So yeah, it was New Year's Eve and I woke up and I was like, I have to leave. I packed all my stuff and I had a friend, one of my really good friends. We've been friends for like a decade almost. He moved down to South Carolina and his family was like, you need to get out of there. I woke up on New Year's Eve and all my friends were like, you're not going to stay for New Year's? Like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I have to go. I have to go right now. So I like packed all my stuff. I woke up at 3 in the morning and I
Wow.
just left. And I was like, I can't. So,
Wow. Okay.
so yeah, drove down to South Carolina. Still like, so I basically put my health coaching stuff on the back burner because I was like, my cousin had died. So I was like, I can't, like, I was just losing it. I was just
Mm.
downward spiral. Like, I can't show up for anybody right now. And so basically successfully launched, ran, and failed at my first business all within the same few months,
Oh,
which is awesome.
yeah.
I didn't have a job. So I go down to South Carolina and I'm still looking for a job and stuff. And my first job out of college was at Waffle House. And I know that you're in Ireland, right?
Mhm. I don't know what that
Okay.
is.
So you don't know what Waffle
Never
House
heard of it
is.
before. No.
Oh, this is actually like good news. So like I don't even think I'll explain
Good
it
for
to you. And
you.
that says enough. That
Is
says
it as
enough
good as
that
it sounds? Yeah.
you don't even need to know what Waffle House is. So that was my first job out of college, and I had never lived in the South before, and it's like a very deep Southern thing of America, I guess. And so the culture was completely different. It was like basically I described it as walking into a 1950s movie
Mm.
where I learned that it was like where all the crumbs of patriarchy like ended
Mm.
up in the US, like they were all just kind of swept up into South Carolina.
Yum.
And that was my experience. So yeah, worked. I was just working, 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 trying to get myself out of the hole that I was in because I also put like everything about my own health on the back burner. So I was like,
Yeah.
whatever. My friend's family took me in and they were like feeding me and stuff. So I wasn't going to be like, this isn't organic or whatever. I was like, okay, I'm just going to eat the food. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in a pretty hard spot right now. Like, I'm just going to say thank you and I'm going to eat it. And then working at Waffle House, I gained like 25 pounds maybe. And I call it my waffle weight. So, lots of waffles. And yeah, I was just so miserable. I was like smoking cigarettes by the dumpster, just trying to like fit in, just trying to
Yeah.
like have some sort of sense of normalcy. And
Yeah.
I knew it was bad when I started like going out to my car and drinking wine at 10 a.m. And I was
Mm.
like, okay, this is just so opposite of the person that
Yeah.
I've been and the person that I want to be.
And how
Um,
were you at that point in time emotionally?
it was the worst year of my life, just hands down, just the worst
Mm.
year of my life. I think losing my cousin was really the start to a really bad time.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin, she always said that Jesus was her homeboy. She was
Mm.
always just rocking like Jesus, just repping, and
Mm.
just the most spiritual person in our family and just a really big ray of sunshine. So that kind of opened me up to Jesus. I was like, okay, well, she was really cool and she was rocking, so like I might as well be open to it. And I was trying all these spiritual things. I was going to the pagodas, meditating with the monks and
Mm.
stuff, just trying to get better.
All during this year, Lily, that really hard year in South Carolina.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
you were
So
really sitting with like both ends of the spectrum in terms of you.
yeah, I didn't show up. Most people don't even know that all of this stuff happened because the way that I show up now online is the way that I was showing up before. And then when
Mm.
this happened, I just took a really big step back. I was like, hated myself. I was like, I don't want to talk. Like, I don't want to show my face or talk about what's going on over here because, like, I'm embarrassed.
Mm.
I was so embarrassed that I was serving waffles at a Southern diner and, like, I was just traveling the country, like, coaching people, living my dream. And now
Yeah.
I'm smoking cigarettes behind a dumpster. Really just and then like just gaining weight and just being super just miserable. So, long story short, yeah, I got two more serving jobs. So, I was working three serving jobs. Dude,
Oh my
that's how
God.
miserable I was serving waffles. I was like, okay, I'd rather anything to not serve another waffle.
Yeah.
And like if anybody, dude, like when I meet another person that's worked at a Waffle House, I'm like, we are blood, like brothers and
You know.
sisters. Yeah, like we know each other on a deep, deep level without saying anything. So I'm so grateful for all of this. Like truly, it's like I would not change a thing about anything in my life, except maybe working three serving jobs at the same time. That was like wouldn't wish that upon anybody. So yeah.
Take us through then that transition.
Yeah, so I was trying to weed myself out and I was getting more hours. It was at a cute little French crepe place So I went from waffles to crepes, which was a crazy big upgrade.
It's very European.
Uh, yeah, I felt like I was like, okay, I'm really going somewhere. And then a taco place. It was July. Yeah, right. Wow, 2 years pretty much in this upcoming week. So 2 years ago, Crunch Fitness. Never thought this is where my
Yeah.
career would start, but Crunch Fitness came to, I was in a small town called Spartanburg, South Carolina. I was living and staying in an even smaller town called Chesney, South Carolina. And I actually spent probably the last like 6 to 8 months not even saying that name because of how miserable I was in that town and just the versions of me that I met, I don't wish upon anybody. Like,
Mm.
I hope nobody meets those versions of me. Crunch Fitness came to town and I was like, yo, that's a gym, that's a nice gym. Those are like health oriented people. Let me go weasel my way, you know? And so I walked in and they're like, yeah, you can apply for the front desk and $12 an hour. And I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work. Yeah. I was like, no. It's like I'm somehow making more slinging waffles
Yeah.
at the Awful Waffle. So yeah, they had a community outreach team and I just would go to the gym every day. I really would just go to the gym and then just like hound like the managers. I'd be like, "Hey, like, do you have any openings yet? Like,
Mhm.
this is how much money I need and I will literally work as much as you want." So, they came around. It took like maybe a month or so. They finally hired me. I quit all three serving jobs at the same time. I was like, "Nope." Yeah, so I
And
started
that
working at
that
Crunch Fitness.
in Crunch Fitness, that was able to literally just replace the three serving jobs.
Yeah, it was my first salary job, hopefully my only salary job too, but
Yeah.
like,
Class.
yes. So they were like, here, you can have this starting salary and then just do this for us. And I was like, sweet. And so I was doing like community outreach in the community, like driving all over the upstate and creating partnerships and creating like community around fitness and selling memberships. And I was like, this is obviously not my dream job, but this is way better and way more aligned, right, than smoking cigarettes behind a dumpster. So
Yeah.
I've been slowly trying to and putting effort into the relaunch of the Dirty Hippie and just like health coaching and really accepting that all of this is just a freedom project. Like, really, I've been able to free myself of so many things.
Mm.
And like from a young age, I started healing myself at like 12 years old. I think all of this is about freedom and about truth and about love. And in all of that, you get healed.
Yeah.
Like
I'd
those
love to hear
things.
more, Lily. I'd love to hear more on, I guess, the deeper journey that all of this has kind of pulled you through. So, yes, with career and job, but from what I sense, it's like there was, well, what you mentioned at the start was like my physical body is here, but I feel like my soul's journey is like having its own party up there and it's trying to link the two. So, amid all of this transition, the job changes, the travel, the meeting new people, like tell me a little bit more about the internal shift. What has been moving for you recently or longer than that? That's a big question, I know.
That's, yeah, this is loaded. The biggest thing that comes up really is the struggle in entrepreneurship.
Mm.
I think this needs to be talked about a lot more. I just think there's this really big, like, anybody can start a business. Starting a business is easy, or like, especially in America, it's like, just do it. Just start before you're
Start a
ready and just
business.
like, yeah, just start a business and go and run with it. Quit your job, like, do this, this, and this, and
Yeah.
like, just have that unwavering faith and you're gonna make it. And like, I
Mm.
think that is true in some cases,
Mhm.
but the reality of that is that, like, if
Mm.
you're stressed out, if everything's riding on your back, if you're not enjoying your time
Yeah.
in trying to create this freedom for yourself, you're just putting yourself in another cage.
Yeah.
They say that you quit your 9 to 5 to work 24/7 for yourself when you start your own business. And like, that's a fact.
Yeah.
I think that's a factual piece of information.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
I totally get it. I think because I work with women specifically, and my work generally is around transition and change. So that could be anything in terms of emotional shifts. It could be your literal job, career changes, whatever that is. And one of the most important things is in order for that feminine creativity to really feel safe enough to actually do her thing, you have to knuckle down on the yang, the masculine, and having that stability piece, that structure for yourself so that you do feel safe enough to create something really nice. And yeah, I have definitely been in spaces as well. Like I was a primary school teacher before I moved into this, and luckily was able to go from 5 days a week to 4 days a week and study to 3 days a week and study to 2 days a week and more clients and build it up. Just because you're working that other job that you don't like doesn't mean that it's not already shifting, that life isn't already changing for you.
Yeah, you still got to pay the bills, you know?
Yeah.
Like this whole money thing. And I think there's this big collective shift happening, which is awesome and stuff, but like we have to use money right now. We just have to pay the bills. We have to buy food. There's certain things that we just have to do. The reality is that having a job that you don't like can actually like give you so much more freedom and happiness than doing nothing or having your own
Mhm.
business that's failing or that you're stressed about or that you're not having fun and you're not able to put your feet up. You're not able to relax or be safe enough to create or enjoy a hobby or dance once in a while. So that's
Yeah.
definitely what I experienced in like, because it was a huge pride and ego thing where I was like, that's why I didn't tell anybody I was working at Waffle House. I was like, there's no way that this is my life right now. When I got hired at Crunch, I was like, okay, this is definitely a step in the right direction. I was working like 12, 13-hour days, just the commute, trying to get myself out of the hole that I was in. So, yeah, it was a big hit to the pride and the ego for like a year straight, maybe even more. Just a huge humbling experience where now I can really say that I just never thought that a 9 to 5 or a job was going to give me this sense of freedom and safety,
Yeah.
time freedom, health freedom, location freedom. Like, it's crazy.
And is this the same company but a different role? How does it work for you now? How are you able to do so much traveling around the country?
Yeah, so I think and all of this plays into the freedom stuff too, because like I walked into Crunch and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing the front desk. I
Mhm.
need way more than $12 an hour,
Yeah.
like dying for a job. Like just like
Yeah.
aching for a good job that was aligned with my soul. And I like
Mhm.
was offered one and I was like, That's not good enough."
Yeah. Amazing.
You know?
Mhm.
So I also think people like us, we have this thing where it's like, okay, I know that I don't want to settle,
Mhm.
but I don't want to be ungrateful, you know? Where it's like I don't want to because people have said that to me where they're like, "Oh, nothing's good enough for you." And I'm like, "Well, you know?" I'm like,
Some things are,
"Well,
and this is not it.
it's like I don't think that's a bad thing, you know?
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
yeah, back to the freedom stuff. I've started this job and I was like, you know what? This is what I need. This is what I want. And then I got it. And then I
Mhm.
worked my way up. I was like the last person standing on this whole team that we started out with. And everybody either got fired or quit or whatever. So then a bunch of crazy stuff happened. We ended up doing a company merge. During the acquisition, they offered me the director of corporate sales. That was building up the corporate sales program. They handed me a pretty shitty SOP and they're like, hey, build this and then soon you'll get paid for it. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a good learning experience. Like I've never had a corporate job before or anything, so
Yeah.
I might as well learn from this. So did that. And then after the merge, they sent me an offer letter with a market salary, so like a crazy raise, and then the director of corporate sales. And I sent it back. and I said, I changed the title, like on the offer letter. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be the director of this bullshit, really. Like it was so
Yeah.
unorganized. I had no support. I was given no software, no nothing. And I was like, I'm not gonna be responsible for this. So I basically took the money and just kept my title. I was like, I'll just be the manager. Like,
Yeah.
but I'll take the money.
I don't want to be in
So
charge.
yeah, I don't want this. I want to clock in and clock out, you know? Yeah, so they were like, yeah, that's fine. I kept doing what I was doing. I basically trained the director. So like my boss came in and I was like, this is what you do. Have fun. Thanks for taking one for the team, you know?
Nice.
And then eventually, along, the same theme, I was like slowly becoming very remote and just doing a lot of things from, I lived in a bus at the time, like a
Mm.
converted school bus. So I was like working from the bus and I was doing like little travels here and there, like going up to the mountains and hanging out. And then I was sitting in this little mountain town and I called my boss at the time and I was like, hey, can I just go fully remote? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, sweet. So yeah,
Amazing. Don't
yeah.
ask, don't get class. And that was how long ago, Lily? So that was like the beginning of like nomad life, essentially.
Yeah, so I think that was about a year ago.
Mm.
Yeah, right about a year ago, I got the job change, I guess, or the position change. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary at Crunch Fitness, and that's just
Mm.
great.
Yay. Congrats. I
Thanks.
mean, the journey, but also it's been a year, would you say then, of like road life? And how has that been? Like, I'm sure you just see the world in a totally different way than those of us who are same house, same room, same routine every single day. How often are you transitioning? I have so many questions about road life. But yeah, tell me like the flavor, the essence of life as you feel it now compared to how you have known it in the past.
I've been living on wheels for 3 years consistently. I lived in the car, and then I lived in a camper, and then a converted school bus, and now I'm in a Prius. The traveling has been very off and on. When I go home, I stay at home for like a month at a time just to hang out. I got a 12-year-old sister, but it shapes you. It really shapes you. I don't know if I would be so secure in myself if I didn't do this whole journey. Like, I think I would still be like, it's even weird to even think about any other avenue I could have went. But yeah, there's definitely some really big struggles, like especially being a female,
Mm.
like a homemaker inside. And biologically, like innately, I am,
Looking for the nest.
yeah, I've nested the heck out of this car. Like, I don't know if I can like flip yeah, we got
Oh
some
my
flowers up
God.
in here.
Lavender,
We did a lot of interior designing this
the
past
living
week.
room. Yeah.
Yep.
Are they glued
So,
up?
yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And then your bed is obviously behind you. You put your two car seats down. It's got a long boot and lengthwise you can sleep.
Yes, yes. So I can lay completely flat and even put my toes down. So I think the toes down thing is like really important. Yeah.
I wanted to ask something there, Lily. You'd mentioned about how travel really changes you. The more time goes on, the more I surround myself with people who are able to be vulnerable with me or able to really deeply connect and talk about what's really on their heart or what's really, in their mind. And it felt like the weekend passed. It just felt like being back at school again, where everybody's like fighting for like their position and like, I want to be the leader and I want to be the leader and I'll make fun of you and I'll talk about you behind your back and da. And, it was all light and it was no malice in it whatsoever. But I felt like I was like outer body experience where I was just like watching this and thinking like, shit, I forgot that well, I don't know. I can't say most because I don't know most of the world, but I forget that that is very often like the human default is to protect and to not want to show weakness and to not go deep in conversation. I find it really lonely. And I remember going back at the end of the day and going to bed and just feeling like sad in a sense, but also like grateful for the community that I do have. But it really got me thinking about this idea of like ultimately we're all just on our own anyway. So the most important thing for me, as what you have said, is like can I be okay with me in that situation? Can I sit among those people and be like, oh, well, at least I like me, I'm comfortable with me. And that, I think for most people, unless very few special people are born that way and always have that level of acceptance. But I think the human experience kind of pulls that out of you for a while. And that's the journey to get back to like, yeah, I mean, whether people want to call it faith or God or themselves or like whatever that love is inside them, it's like, can I get back to that love for myself, that acceptance for myself? That is really the last few days that has like really sprung up in my mind. And yeah, it makes me want to ask you in terms of that like aloneness and being okay with yourself and how that relationship with being lonely, or maybe there is no loneliness, maybe it's just being alone. Like, how have you experienced that? And I know that your faith, your connection with God is a big part of your life now as well. So yeah, I'd love for you to speak on that.
I think it's really important when you said feeling that separation in those crowds and stuff, and then also feeling that loneliness, and then also feeling that gratitude for the few, like, really solid connections that you do have. Because I think that's been a really big theme, even just the last week or two, and just understanding that those really go hand in hand, and those are like two sides to the same coin type of thing.
Mm,
Because it's always and like that's something that I try to incorporate whenever I can, because I think there's just things that are true at the same time.
mm,
You can be having a not great time and then also be experiencing bliss and misery like in the same moment almost. Like they're just doing this dance. It's so beautiful, and I've experienced a lot of that right here in this seat.
mm,
I think that my relationship with God has really, that's why I had to live in South Carolina, because I had met this beautiful spiritual family that is really the entire reason that I am walking with Christ
mm,
and have been able to experience this freedom. It's just freedom. I've just been healed of so many things that, like you said, like it's just these things don't happen overnight. To answer your question, I've really never felt bored, and I've really never felt alone up until traveling.
mm,
And even in my 3 years of travel, I haven't felt those things. I don't really feel boredom like ever. I just got too much shit to do, too much shit that I get to do that I want to do.
yeah.
But the loneliness thing, I think I've felt that more in the last years for sure. I felt it so much so. I remember I got to Maine on my New England tour, and I was standing in Maine listening to Noah Khan, and
Mm,
I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't think I want to travel. I think I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this would be so much cooler if somebody was sitting here with me.
mm,
I was like, okay, like, I'll just put everything on pause. Like, I'm not going to complete the US. I'll just wait until I meet somebody like me, cool enough for me to invite, to come
mm,
with me and like do this. Cause this is like a pretty crazy lifestyle. Like,
yeah.
doing this with other people, like, you really get to see, you get really close really fast. And you learn a lot about yourself. Really, it's just everything's expedited.
Yeah.
And yeah, so my one friend, he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna move into my car," and I was like, "Sweet," and I was like, "Do you want to come out west with me?"
Mhm.
And he was like, "Yeah, sure," and I was like, "Cool," because I really don't want to do this alone anymore. And out
Yeah.
west, the hikes get bigger, and there's more bears, and there's just more
Mhm.
going on, just way more unfamiliar than my Midwest East Coast experience. So yeah, and then he ended up going out with a different friend. So he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go with my one friend." And I was like, "Dang." I was really excited, and it was a really
Yeah.
big bummer. It actually took me a while to work through that because I was like,
Yeah.
but I think it was God really showing me that. And same, like, two schools of thought here. Like, the one is that, like, I started this alone, I'm gonna finish this alone. And then it turned into, like, physically alone, like what we call physical here in this realm. It was God like saying like you're not alone. Like you're not alone.
Mm,
Like you have me, and like maybe even just learning to view and understand him as my rock and as
mm,
my best friend, my travel companion, everything. My homeboy. So everything has to happen for a reason,
yeah,
there's something good that comes from everything. So it's just really powerful to be actually physically, mentally, and spiritually walking in that.
yeah. And how long do you have left, Lily, of the tour? Is there a plan? Or just see what happens?
And this is kind of like another dance that I'm doing where I'm really saving up for land, and
Nice.
I'm just knowing that I'm gonna meet, I've already met such amazing people that really changed the course of my life. And so yeah, I'm trying to figure out like, who's gonna be around and where that's gonna be. And I don't think I'll ever be done traveling. But yeah, but the goal has been the lower 48 before my 25th birthday in September.
And also, you were saying there about having met loads of people. So I went on a retreat there to El Salvador, and that was like world changed because I met so many really cool people who had introduced me to loads of different things, and they all went to Confluence. And they're like, we're all
What?
going. Yeah. And I was like, wait, whoa, what are we all doing? Obviously, I'm here in Ireland, and they're like, yeah, we're all camping. Like, who wants in? And I was like, well, I think I want to go, but anyway, I couldn't because I had different things booked in. This was like the week before Confluence. So I was like, shit, okay. So there's a load of us talking about going again next year. Still trying to figure out what dates that is. Then I saw that you had been at Confluence. I think that's when I just started following you. And I was like, "Oh, there's so many people that I know at that." And since then have been following or like listening to The Way Forward, the podcast is so good. I love it.
So good.
Yeah, it's so good. So I'm like absolutely like I totally get what you mean about like meeting people. That's something I would love to do next year because I feel like that attracts such beautiful people and such cool ideas as well. Did you love it?
It changed my life.
Yeah, class.
Wow, that's so crazy.
I just
Good.
really love this idea of like extremes and how we're missing the point, like missing the whole point of community, decentralized systems and what that looks like practically, and just everything that is focused on kindness and love for each other and how that operates, you know? I do feel like where I'm from, I'm on the north coast here of Ireland. Obviously, it's tiny. I don't even know what it would be like in relation to one of your states. But I feel like there is a shift. Like there are people who are now using people like me for healthcare rather than going straight on to, you know, medications. But people are just taking a little bit more initiative with health. I think people are more interested in food and where it's coming from. Was it like in person? How did that feel being in person?
It was just such a gift. Yeah, it was just really emotional too to be like my experience at Confluence was a very
Mm,
unique experience. And in that, it was the first time ever in my life where I actually was able to like physically see with my eyes and feel like in my heart and be like moved and elevated. Like my soul was like elevated, like all at the same time. Like I was experiencing a tiny fraction of what heaven on earth
mm,
is like and how possible it is,
yeah.
from the animals on the land and regenerating the land to then eating that food and just experiencing all of this with family.
Mm,
Like not this religious Christian God that, but God.
yeah.
Like love, like the reason that we're brothers and sisters, what makes us brothers and sisters, and to just
Mm,
actually be there participating in that
yeah.
was unlike any other healing retreat, festival,
Yeah.
coaching program. Like it was like it puts all that stuff to shame when people are actually living, breathing, walking in that integrity. What
Yeah.
was the
Oh, it's
question?
so beautiful. Because it's like you've stepped through a portal into living life so entwined with nature. How does that affect us? How does that affect our energy, our frequency? And as you say, like, I totally get that. Your eyes, your visual experience, and what you felt in your body matched. It wasn't like, oh, I've done all of this work, all this growth, and I feel fine, even though this is not the experience I would ask for. It's like, this is the experience I would ask for. This is what I want, and I get to enjoy this. It reminded me, I mean, it's different, but the same as well. I always go back to talking about El Salvador, and I'm sure people are like so bored of it, but I don't care because that was the first time in my life where I just didn't need to sleep. I just couldn't sleep. And I felt so high, like being alive. I was like, I don't want to
Well,
sleep. I don't want to sleep. When I would get to sleep for maybe like 2 or 3 hours a night and then wake up with the cockerel and the dawn and just be like, okay, let's go. I just want to see my friends. I just want to play in the sand. I just want to like cook with them and get our vegetables, get our meats. Like everything was so simple. We were in the water, we were exercising, we were having conversations, well, we weren't really lighting fires, but in my dream, we would have had more fires. But everything was just like so back to basics. And I have never felt more blissful. It just felt like, as you say, like heaven on earth. And one of the things that came to mind, Lily, there when you said about, like getting back to God. So I'll be honest, my experience with like religion, as many people in Northern Ireland, Ireland itself, whenever I would hear people literally use the word God, it would like pause something in me where I was like, nope, not
mhm.
my people, anything like that. It was like, nope. And honestly, it's only maybe in the last few months where I'm like starting to form my own idea of like, okay, what is God to me? Like, what is that? And that has been accelerated by, to bring all this back to your point, the more I have got back to simple living with nature as much as I can, with like raw conversation, with just allowing myself to be more honest with people and opening myself to receiving more honesty from people. And yeah, just like having a more simple life, being in nature more, then I'm like, oh, this is God. I didn't know because I've never been taught like God is nature, God is love, God is other people. It was like a separate entity. I didn't want to know anything about it. And so whenever I see people like yourself or other things been shared around this idea of, a friend of mine recently said she was like, God did not intend for us to create religions. God is in relationship. It's not in the religion, it's in the relationship. And that really hit home for me because I was like, oh, I have been avoiding this part of me, of everything for so long and just pushing it away because one, I didn't maybe have the capacity to start thinking about it for myself. Two, it felt scary. Three, it felt like, oh, well, I'm going to get shamed or ridiculed for this. But now that I see it in its most simplest form of like relationship with other people, with friends, with nature, with like that experience that I had in El Salvador was like, that was God and creation and everything. So let's dig into the questions, shall we?
We shall.
Okay. All right. So the first one, Lily, what is one fear that you've recently overcome? This can go
Ooh,
as like shallow or as deep as you want.
a few things pop up for me, but I guess the main one, the biggest one, would probably have to be speaking publicly about urine therapy.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. As somebody who has been labeled as somebody who doesn't really give a fuck, I really had to work through that and understand this. new thing that I'm doing is definitely going to cause this separation that we've been
Yeah.
speaking about.
What is one thing that you are no longer available for?
Somebody that just like came up, I would say doing things because they're cheap or easy, doing things that are, like yesterday I left this group and it was like a women's group, and after they had like French fries for everybody. And obviously like they're free and like there's a abundance of them and stuff. And I was like, no. Like I
Mm,
don't want that because I historically I would want that because it's free, it's right there, it's accessible, it's easy.
yeah.
I'm hungry. I'm about to go to the
Mm,
gym. Couple French fries sound great. It's just like, and then it's like, no, like if I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna go to my car and eat my organic dates and my grass-fed butter because that's what's
mm,
gonna fill my
yeah.
body. So,
Nourish
and
you.
then the other one would be like talking about people. I have no capacity to like the petty stuff or like talking about like even when I do talk about people and it has nothing to do with like being it's just a part of life. My experiences are involving other people most of the time. But just like when other people are, saying stuff or being, any sort of way, I just have like no capacity for that. So,
I get that one. Yeah. 100%. Okay, last one. What does freedom feel like for you right now?
wow. So, freedom right now for me feels like not eating food, like the going back to the discipline and structure
Yeah.
equaling freedom or creating freedom. I've just learned so much since Confluence. Well, we were kind of in the DMs talking about like food as
Yeah.
density,
I'm
and
so
like,
glad that you've brought this up. So yeah, talk to me about, the takeaway of what you learned and how that feels for you now.
yeah, so I think this looks like everything is information, right? So like this juice is information, this water, a burger, like it's all just information for our bodies. And like I think we have it down pat where we know like our consuming media and consuming what other people are saying, just what we're consuming in general, right? Like it's all
Yeah.
just information. We're taking it in. And I think this is why I really promote and share for many reasons, but the main reason that like I talk about the way forward and Alex speaks a lot about insourcing and outsourcing, right? So we're constantly taught to outsource our information.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll listen to another podcast about it. Oh, I'll read a book about it. Oh, I'll ask this person about it. I'll go to the doctor and ask them about it. It's just like,
I don't have the
and
information in me, so I better find it elsewhere.
yeah. And
Okay. Yeah.
I think this is what the whole like religion stuff like really just fails
Mm,
us. So making room inside of this vessel for the light,
hmm
right? Like whether that's like physically like vegetables that are grown from the light and just like eating that life force type of,
hmm
like the alive things that are alive. And
Yeah.
then that creates life inside of you, right? But then also like
Mm,
viewing it as information and density because if the more that you eat and the more heavier or dense the things are, the less room you have inside of you
mm,
for light, for love, for newness.
yeah.
So I think everything has really changed for me because before Confluence, I was, eating 3 meals a day, eating heavy
Mm,
protein, eating a lot of animal meats and fats. And yeah, I guess I would say I've never eaten so vegetarian ever in my life.
hmm
I've had protein source from meat like 3 times in the past week, which
Wow.
before Confluence was like many times a day. So yeah, I've really just decreased how much I'm eating and what I'm eating and just really tried to eat light.
Yeah.
It feels great. I mean, that like paired with the urine therapy has like really changed everything about the way that I do everything. I think all forms of consumption have been naturally addressed. Like it's just a very innate thing that's going on where it's like and my friend that I met at Confluence is the one who really brought me to a better understanding of urine therapy and like viewing things as information and
Mm.
consuming the urine is very like it just teaches you. It's a form of insourcing, right? Like, I asked him, I was like, so what's the protocol for urine? Like, what do I, how much and when? And he's like, none of that. None of that. So, like, why, it's all just, I could talk about it forever, but long story
Yeah,
short,
I've never heard of this therapy before. That's why I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, me neither. Like, literally 2 months ago, if you would have told me I was sitting here drinking my urine, I'd be like, you're out of your mind.
yeah, it is. I understand now the fear of like talking about it. 100%.
One of the first forms of outsourcing my information around urine therapy was the podcast with Mike Cardamone. I don't know what episode it is, but it's talking all about fasting and
Yeah.
urine therapy. Really, really helpful.
Yeah. And so, last question is, how do you feel today? What does life feel like for you at the moment?
I feel really good. I feel excited. I feel grateful. And I feel sturdy.
Hmm. That stability is there and the excitement for what's to come. Yay! Lily, crushed it. That was amazing. Thank you so much for being part of it.
Thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
See you later.
Toodaloo, kangaroos.